Hey, my name is Chris. I'm an ex-evangelical Christian, an ex-worship leader, and this handsome gent behind me is Dr. James Dobson. Now, if you were an evangelical kid in the 1990s or the late 1980s, you know exactly who this guy was. Now, he did have letters behind his name, which gave him a lot of privilege, and it got him into circles in which he had a lot of influence. So, James Dobson. Now, there's a whole bunch of different videos on who he was and what he did to push Christian nationalism and what he did with his popular radio show, Focus on the Family. Now, long story short, in the 1970s and in the early 1980s, he got his degree in childhood development, in psychology, and he used that degree to push a narrative that that if you truly loved your kids, that you would discipline them, right? And how would you discipline them? Beat the holy hell out of them. Now, he wrote a series of books in order to tell parents to spoil the rod and don't spare the child. Basically, he gave a whole set of Christian parents permission to beat the shit out of their kids. But worse than that, he is more or less the modern day father of Christian nationalism. So when he was coming up in the world, James Dobson decided that he should align himself with Republican government and push that narrative, and also push the narrative that Christianity should be involved in government and that we should reestablish a Christian nation, but based under the Bible, and to take over the laws, take over legislation, which is basically the entire goal of Christian nationalism, to have a whole bunch of Christian politicians get into government and to change legislation to basically force American citizens to act Christian. And the funny thing is, his evil, horrible plan worked. This is what we are seeing nowadays. So if you're mad at Christian nationalism, if you have some sort of view that you don't like about Christian nationalism, you can blame this guy. He had his insidious plan to infiltrate government and to use that in order to control people. And that's exactly what we're seeing nowadays. Now, I'm sure wherever James Dobson is, he's looking up at all of us and thinking about our salvation. And I appreciate that wherever he is. But the deal is, he wasn't a nice guy. He wasn't a good man. And there are droves of 90s teenagers who are kind of happy that he's gone. And honestly, it's always the wicked. They always live long. This dude lived up into his 90s, and his influence hurt a lot of kids and destroyed a lot of relationships. Now, also, if you were an evangelical teenager and you've disassociated yourself, or you've deconstructed your faith, it was most likely he contributed to that. And if you've cut off your parents, if you no longer talk to your Republican parents, he would be a big influence to that, because basically he encouraged your parents to beat the holy shit out of you. And the funny thing is, even when I went to church, I remember all of the adults would listen to Focus on the Family. It would be on the Christian radio stations all the time. And the deal was, there would be sermons about Focus on the Family, like subject matter. And this guy contributed it to all. So, like, if you remember James Dobson, if you remember Focus on the Family, like, put in the comments. Tell me, like, what you went through. Tell me if your parents was a big follower of him. Tell me if you got hit because of his teachings. Hugs, health, and happiness from Las Vegas.